You must think I'm so sexist for hating female custodies. Oh, hello, fellow Warhammer player from my local store. We have never spoken before, but since the shop is small and you said that very loudly, I guess we're having a conversation now. And while that interaction was definitely weird, it did make me realize something. Apparently this topic is way more heated than I thought, and honestly I'm not convinced Games Workshop asked many women if they ever wanted female custodies in the first place. So instead of awkwardly ending the conversation at, well, I don't really like how Game Workshop introduced them. As a woman, I know, crazy right? I'll now give you my personal and probably over-detailed opinion. Bonsoir fellow mini enthusiasts, let's talk about why I don't really like female custodies. Yet. Before we go any further, let me be very clear. This is not about feminism, it's not about being for or against representation, and it's definitely not some grand ideological debate. Because I'm an artist, so I care about good lore, good design, and clever narrative and aesthetic choices. Which means I hate when perfectly fine lore is retconned without adding anything interesting. That's it. That's my whole thing actually. So welcome and join the Goblin Gang. Oh, by the way, if you want to see the artsy dive on them where I analyze their design, I'll link it for you in the description. If you can spare some time, of course. Now, back to the main topic. And let's start strong, because yes, we ladies so needed representation in the custodies. After all, we didn't have any armies composed only of very cool females, right? Oh no, we should totally make one. And since Space Marine calls themselves brother, they could call themselves sisters. That would be so cool. Oh wait, do you see my point? If I wanted an army of only badass ladies, I already had excellent options, which already had established identities and lore that explore different topics. But instead of expanding sus faction, giving them new model and deepening their stories, Game Workshop dropped women into a faction defined almost entirely by physical supremacy and called it a win. I'll come back to that. Design-wise, to me it's honestly even worse. The armor shows zero difference across genres. And no, I do not need the armor to be sexier on the Custodes woman, that's not what I'm asking for. But if you go out of your way to add women to an army and make it such an important feature, then please let me see a difference in silhouette, pose, proportion or visual language, otherwise it doesn't feel like a thoughtful inclusion, it feels more like a checkbox with a new head screw. And I'm sorry, wait, no I'm not, there is nothing wrong with male-only armies, none, zero. If you want to change that, do it because it opens a genuinely interesting narrative door, and so far it doesn't. And boring is my cardinal sin, Goblin Gang. The fact that GW says they've always existed, lol, no, that's not clever. That is not satisfying, that is lazy. Worse, that is boring, and that's a cardinal sin, remember? If you're going to retcon something, you need to replace what you break with something better. Honestly, I prefer the penitence in underwear lore. Yes, it is super silly, but at least it's interesting. And honestly, if they brought that back, and I think I even saw it somewhere, but well, that might almost make the Golden Ladies interesting. We'd canonically have giantess fighting in underwear. Don't tell me that's not fun. I am aware, okay, that very strong women exist. Muscle mommies are a thing, and yes, they are awesome. That's not the problem here. The problem is that modern media increasingly treats raw physical dominance as the only valid way for a woman to be cool. She must constantly assert dominance, especially over male characters, in a way that often boils down to one specific vibe. Aggression becomes depth, cruelty becomes confidence, humiliation becomes authority. Bonus point if her tragic backstory magically absolves her of all crimes, for reasons. And yes, sus characters can exist. They can even be good, sometimes. But when every strong female character is built from the same template, they become as bland as the freaking isekai protagonists. And listen, I didn't choose the goblin avatar by accident. I'm very small, and my strength stat is garbage. Being reminded by every recent show that without adopting hyper-masculine traits, I cannot be heroic, powerful or relevant, that's the literal opposite of inclusive. What frustrates me the most is that Warhammer doesn't usually fall into this trap. They already have strong, well-written female characters, which already have different kinds of strengths. One of my favorite examples is Tarasha Uten, Robute Gulliman's adoptive mother. She isn't powerful because she can kill you in one punch. She's powerful because she shaped one of the most influential beings in the Imperium through wisdom, patience, and care. That kind of strength seems compelling to me, and it already exists in this universe. Same with the Sister of Silence. I mean, they are blanks, so low-key terrifying to the average Joe, quite iconic and mysterious. Very mysterious. Low-key abandoned, right, GW? And of course, the Adepta Sororitas, embodiment of faith, duty, conviction, living vectors of tragedy and beauty. And so many other examples that explore more than bigger punch wins. Because let's be honest, if you can kill a normal human just by walking over them, you're already a terrifying eldritch being in my book. And yes, it's fun in Space Marine too, but you don't need to be even more punchy to be interesting. Honestly, if Game Workshops really wants more women to play Warhammer, just put romance into it. And I don't mean the grim dark trauma romance. I mean disgustingly sincere, dramatic, emotional romance. Full fleur bleu. Do it, you cowards! No, the infinite and the divine doesn't count. You know exactly why. So here's the core of it. I don't understand who the female custodies are for. Women were already present, already varied, already well written. This change doesn't add any meaningful lore. Well, so far, it doesn't improve the faction's identity, and it doesn't make me feel more included. And again, there is nothing wrong with male-only factions, especially when their entire concept is physical superiority. I beg you not to try to sell me female orcs. No, just no. So no, I don't get it, at all. But if you do, educate me in the comments. I mean it. Tell me what I'm missing, tell me why this works for you, and also tell me why it doesn't work for you, especially if you agree with me but for totally different reasons. But that's enough rambling. Thank you so much for watching this silly rant until the end. Don't forget to add 3 sparkles emojis, so I know you're part of this secret end of the video club. Please leave a like to motivate my little goblin butt with some sweet dopamine. Subscribe to join the Goblin Gang, and as always, bonne chance with your hobby les amis!